Welcome to the College Admission TV Higher Education Podcast. We sit down with passionate leaders in education for their thoughts and insights in today's world. We are excited to have as our guest Mack Palmour, Vice President of Enrollment Management of the University of South Carolina, Beaufort in Bluffton, South Carolina.
Hey, is it Dr. Palmour?
No, it's just Mack.
It's just Mack. Well, hey, it's just Brad. So that's okay.
Sounds great.
That's okay. Hey, thanks for doing this. I appreciate it.
Sure, of course.
And let me know. We can do audio, video, whatever you want to do.
I mean, yeah, video's good. That way I can see and you can see if I start to cry or anything and see.
Oh, perfect. Well, me too. Yeah. Perfect. That's great. Okay. And just let me know, because right now you're on audio. So there we go.
There we go.
Perfect.
Yeah, I had not pushed the button. Yes. So sorry.
No worries. So have you been at a conference lately? I see the badge.
Yeah. Actually, it's a name tag. I require everybody in my team to wear name tags all the time when they're on campus. And and that comes from having been in the hotel business for 8 years, that it denotes to people that we know something. And
absolutely,
that people could ask, because, we have people on campus from, 17 to 87. We are right next to a 55 and plus community next door, and we have a lifelong learning program through OLLI, which is a national organization of lifelong learning events. And so we have students of all shapes, sizes, and ages on campus all the time. So it's really a requirement that I have that says I'm available to help you if you need help, because people don't know who to ask just walking across campus.
I think that is such a great idea. My kids are playing at all, different sports. And I wish the parents, sometimes the kids you can always identify by the number, eventually you can tie the number to the child's name. But oftentimes I wish the parents would wear name tags, especially when you're on a new team and you're just getting to know the parents.
Sure. No, I think it really helps, rather than, because especially if you don't see them on a really regular basis, then every time you're starting from new, especially me, because I keep forgetting people's names. So it helps.
I am with you. I'm the same way. So the hospitality business, yeah, I saw that you had worked at Courtyard and other stops. So tell me a little bit about that experience and how that ties into higher education, what you're doing now in recruitment.
Sure. I mean, I started with, I have a master's degree in student personnel services, and I worked in higher ed for a number of years. And one of the functions I had at one of my jobs was doing a career fair. And I had some folks from the hospitality business there, from a hotel specifically. And we just got talking. It sounded kind of interesting. And I always said I wanted to do something different. And the hotel business was about as different as I could find. And I applied for a sales job. I mean, my background was counseling primarily. And I can, still remember in my cover letter writing, with my training and with my people skills and your training, I know we'll make a winning team. And they bought it. And so I went to work for a small independent hotel, and then went to work for Marriott and worked for them for 6 years. And it was a fantastic training ground to get into admissions, because ours is basically a sales job. We can call our clients and our customers students, but they're still our clients and our customers. And so I tried to adopt some of those principles that we followed in my role as an admissions person. The name tag, for example, just little things. I change my voicemail every day with the date that says whether I'm here or not. And if I'm gone for several days, I indicate that, because that's something I had to do when I was with Marriott. And at the time, if you didn't have a name tag on, you were considered to be out of uniform. And so it was a really big deal in being able to identify that you're available to offer assistance. And so that kind of background and having had a counseling background of being able to listen and hear what people are saying versus simply waiting for a time to talk, is extremely important in this business, and working both with students and families as well, because now we're recruiting a family. We're not just recruiting a student. The time of saying parents don't be involved anymore, we got it from here, those times are long since passed. So we have to be able to hear that and take advantage of whatever skill set we have. So that's really how it kind of got me into it. When I left higher ed and worked in the hotel business for 8 years, I really missed it. I missed the opportunity to have, there's an energy on a college campus that really doesn't exist anywhere else. And so I kind of been looking a little bit and saw a position for recruitment, and I had not even really thought about it before. But then as I read the job description, I'm like, that's what I do. That's what my background is, in counseling and sales. And so that's really how I got into it.
So now, did you grow up in Georgia? I know you got your undergrad in Georgia.
I did. I grew up in Dahlonega, Georgia. So just north of Atlanta, about 70, 80 miles or so. And then lived in Atlanta for 12 years at one point. So I grew up there and then have traveled around to a few different places and states. But I was in the university system of Georgia for about 15 years.
Okay. So I love Marriott. I love the Courtyard, and I have a story that you may find interesting. So we've been very fortunate to have guests like yourself do a number of podcasts for the last 2 years. And there was a period of time where I had really set up shop at a Courtyard because of a move that we had. So we had a very small apartment at the time. And so my office, quote unquote, became the corner of a Courtyard. And I will tell you something, the nicest, most professional people, I got to know them over the course of 3 or 4 months. And one of them actually even invited me to his wedding. He was such a great guy. We got to know each other so well over about a 4 to 5 months period. But the thing that I always got a kick out of was, here I'm doing podcasts, right? And I'm doing it out of my office now. But, for a period of several months, I was doing podcasts out of the Courtyard kind of lobby area where they're serving the Starbucks and the food kind of back there in that corner. And I would have folks from Courtyard come over to me and going, "Hey, is the lobby music too loud? You want us to turn that down for you on the podcast?" And I'm sitting there thinking, I should be asking you, are you guys okay with me doing this here? You don't have to turn down the music for everybody else. So anyway, that's kind of my fun story with Courtyard, but professional and just a lot of fun.
No, I had a great experience. I met some terrific people there who were professional, and customer service was so keen. And, Mr. Marriott's thing was take care of your employees and they'll take care of your guests, and your guests will come back. Mm-hmm. And so that was that's been a big part of, and I really tried to bring that culture with me when I came into the admissions world as well.
So what was that? You remember that moment when you got the job as vice chancellor for enrollment management? Do you remember the call? Do you remember the email? Whatever that might have been. Probably both.
I do. Yes, as a matter of fact. Yeah. So I had worked in various functions in admissions and then director of admissions, and here at USCB, I actually was looking for another position. And I kind of found out about it from 2 different angles. I was actively involved in our regional professional association and was on the executive board for that. And someone, ours is a very connected business, and someone who knew someone called someone in that group and said, "Hey, they're looking for this person." And at the same time, the chancellor here at USCB knew my former president at another institution, and she called her and said, "Hey, I'm looking for someone to start and develop a division of enrollment management at USCB, and my former president recommended me." And I didn't know all of that at the time, but I found that out later, that she had a positive reflection of me before I even got here based on that recommendation from my former president, which is always a good thing to have.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit more about your journey and your path to your position today. So who are the mentors that help shape you?
I think I have one in education and one in from the hotel business. My first boss in higher ed, I worked in a grant funded position as a academic counselor, working with students who were conditionally admitted to the university, and she was just such a great mentor. And it was really as a grant funded position and kind of showing how this process was to work with working with students who needed this extra support in order to be successful. I also, my second or third day there, she said, "Oh, by the way, you're going to be teaching a college success class to these students." And I'd never taught a class before, ever. And she also gave me the opportunity to get some training that was extraordinarily helpful in developing one of those, a class like that. And that was very helpful for me as I went forward. And then I think the best supervisor I ever had was my first boss at Courtyard. And she was a regional sales manager, and we were a team of about, I don't know, somewhere between 8 and 12 of us. And she was just a great manager. And she taught me really that, kind of, again, the philosophy of Marriott, that you've got to be able to take care of your customers and serve your employees, and then they will do that for you. And she used to call and say, "What have you been doing?" And I'd say, "I did this and this and this and this." And she'd always say the same thing: "Well, thanks for doing your job." Which I found such a profound statement. And I've used that at least 500 times as I've been managing people myself, usually in a kidding fashion, but I mean, that's why we're here, to do that job. And years later, I had not seen her in a long, long time, and I tracked her down and sent her a note and just told her what an impact she had had on me professionally, and about how much I appreciated her. And in my first evaluation I had with her after my first year with Marriott, and we completed it, she said, "I know you're about to go on vacation, and I hope you have a great time because you deserve it." And I've never had another supervisor say that to me before or since. And so that's also something I've tried to incorporate, because it matters to people when you say you have done a good job and you've earned this opportunity. So she was a huge influence in me on a professional level.
So now, are you doing campus tours? I mean, are you visiting with parents and students?
I do some, right now in my role. I mean, we have a group of student ambassadors who do all our tours on campus, and I love getting to know them, because in my role now, I don't have the opportunity to have direct interaction with as many students as I have in the past. And so I try to, take the opportunity to talk with them and be part of them. And then a lot of what my involvement with is through young professional staff, and making sure that they have the opportunity to have the skill sets, the resources they need, the skills that they need to be successful. And at this stage in my life, I mean, most of them could be my children anyway. So that's one of the things that I also really enjoy, is having the chance to mentor those kind of students. And occasionally, if nobody's available, I say, "Sure, I'll do it." And the chancellor has gotten into the habit, if he has a special donor coming or a guest of some kind, then I have become his official tour giver, which is fun too. And I've done politicians and I've done donors, and I've done, friends of the university and that kind of thing like that. And that's always kind of a fun and interesting thing to do.
Well, I'd imagine it would vary by, depending on who you're walking around campus. But what are the top, most frequent questions you get?
Well, they, because most of them have had a college experience themselves, so they ask about, in showing them around, they see housing here, and they ask about how that is. I mean, we have apartment style housing. That's a really big deal, because students get their own bedroom, and they're always amazed at that, because they, like me, grew up in a time where you had 2 people in a room at least, and then you walk down the hall to take a shower. And so those are the kind of things they ask. And then they also ask about the type of students we have. They ask about the facilities and how we use them, and about, what kind of resources we use to support students, and that kind of thing like that.
Mm-hmm. So who do you compete with? I mean, where do you see cross apps?
Well, more so with the college with the University of South Carolina than I had anticipated when I came here. And we're a regional university. Our mission is to provide for the educational attainment of students of the Low Country. I mean, that's why we exist, and we're the only public four-year institution in this part of the state. Kind of the southernmost part of South Carolina. So our mission is to serve those students and giving them the opportunity to complete the education that they desire. So, but we have a lot of students who apply to us who Columbia may be their first choice, but they've liked us and they see us as a backup. Or we oftentimes have those students go there and decide it was just a little too big or too much for them, and then they'll come. College of Charleston is also a big. We have a lot of cross apps there again because of location. Because we're both coastal institutions. I mean, we're very different institutions. As they're, in downtown Charleston, it's a big place compared to us. But a lot of students who are looking for that kind of environment from outside the state and stuff like that are really looking at that as well. And then there are other regional universities. University of South Carolina, Aiken is a competitor. Some with Coastal Carolina, again, on the coast, that kind of thing like that are some of the ones that we compete pretty strongly with.
Now, is it Beaufort?
It's actually in South Carolina, it's Beaufort.
Beaufort.
In North Carolina, it's Beaufort.
Okay.
I don't know why.
So as far as just location for our listeners, audio and video, how close are you to Charleston, or how close are you to the coast or the water? What does that look like?
So here's my sales pitch. We are 30 minutes north of Savannah, and we are 90 minutes south of Charleston. And we are about 25 to 35 minutes from the beach where we are. And I tell people all the time, if you exit on exit 8 on 95 and go on 278 on your way to Hilton Head, you pass our Bluffton campus, because we have 3 locations throughout the county. Bluffton is our largest campus. Beaufort is our original campus that's right on the banks of the Beaufort River. We added this additional location because there simply wasn't room to expand. And then 5 years ago or so, I guess, we added the Hilton Head Island campus, which is designed specifically for the last 2 years of completion of our hospitality management program.
So you're roughly a little over 2,100 students, is that right?
Right.
With most of them being undergraduates.
Correct.
So how big do you want to get, or how big can you get?
I think my chancellor tells me all the time, recruit like we have unlimited capacity. And I say, yes, sir, I always do. But I think our goal to as far as just the health of the institution would to be in the 2,500 to 3,000 range. That would give us enough students to continue to increase some of the services that we offer, degree programs that we have, and that kind of thing like that, but still have really the opportunity to be the kind of institution that we pride ourselves in, with a great deal of personalized service, the opportunity. I mean, I think I coined this. If not, I stole it so long ago. I think I coined it, to know as you are known here. You have the opportunity to know students. You have the opportunity to know faculty. You have the opportunity to know staff. That is really difficult to do at a much larger institution. And so that's one of the things that's still very, very important to us. But, to continue to serve the institution, we have to serve the area, we have to grow. So we have really gone to doing not only an expansion of across the state of South Carolina, but also within the southeast region, and then in some specific markets around the country where we've seen some activity and interest in the institution. A lot of it because of location. That's how they found out about us, and looking for, if they're coming from the Northeast or the Midwest, that they're doing some searches for colleges on the coast, and we come up through those searches, and then we have a chance to make our pitch.
Are you seeing? I guess what trends are you seeing as far as students? Are you seeing more non-traditional age students? Are you seeing students that are taking online courses, or is it hybrid, or is it still primarily a traditional residential campus?
It's interesting. It's changed since COVID. Our students who have come back from COVID, who are traditional students, who went through the whole experience of, studying at home and everything was virtual and that kind of thing like that, they want an in-person experience. And so that's been something that we've seen pretty consistent over the last couple of years. I was having a conversation today, as a matter of fact, with our chancellor about our need to continue to diversify our market. We've had, as the virtual cliff of the enrollment cliff is all the predictions of the birth rates dropping and traditional high school students being fewer of. The South looks like, based on everything that I read, is going to be dealing with that later than other parts of the country who are already dealing with it. But we have to make sure that we're continuing to diversify our market. And we offer a few online programs that are specifically toward mostly working adults, or many of whom have some college and for whatever reason didn't finish. We see some markets in that, and then it's just trying to use the limited resources you have to put those together to continue to grow those as we grow as an institution.
So can you talk about the advantages of being a student in state and also being a student out of state?
Sure. In state, nationally, the average student who goes to college usually goes within about 100 miles or so of where they grew up. That's also the case with us here, although we do draw from all across the state. And South Carolina is a pretty small state overall, so you can get from where we are up to to Spartanburg in about 4 hours. So it's not a hard drive at all. And so that kind of proximity to home is a big deal for many of our students. The opportunity, again, as I'd mentioned, to have that kind of small college experience is a big part of it. And when I first got here, we were about 94% in state. And most of those out-of-state students were athletes. And now we're about 85% in state. As we've made some specific efforts for students to try to come here who are looking for that experience of a small school and in a destination location, and that's a big draw for us. And we've put together some scholarship packages for students from out of state to try to offer them some incentives to check us out and see what they think about us. And those are both have been successful.
So today you see jobs that aren't going to exist in 5 or 10 years. And then on the flip side, you look ahead to the future, there's going to be a number of jobs that don't even exist today. So how does USCB make sure that students are career ready, not just job ready, but career ready?
Well, one of the things that's become part of our strategic plan in the last several years is creating an experiential experience for students. For every student that wants it, and some degree programs require it, like hospitality, education, computational science are required students to be working in that, and others they're encouraged to do so. Business is not a requirement, but a lot of our students do it. Again, to try to have a chance to get some of that real world experience for them. And the big thing is we're trying to train, and we also know, and it's been this way for a long, long time, just like careers may not exist in the future, facts that were facts at one point become overshadowed by new knowledge and information that's gathered. And so what we're trying to do is teach our students how to learn and how to think critically and how to communicate. And then as that new information comes available, to be able to synthesize it into whatever their career path is. And because we are a destination campus, we have faculty that are looking to come to a place like this who have some really impressive backgrounds from MIT, from the University of Chicago, from in our biology program from University of Florida, and just to name a few. And those are those are people that bring an expertise and a gravitas that you don't often see at a smaller institution. But again, those people who came here were looking for a certain kind of lifestyle. Sometimes it was getting out of the snow, but oftentimes, the beach and the low country lifestyle of a slower, easier pace, and the opportunity to participate in year-long outdoor activities and those kind of thing like that are a big draw for both faculty and staff living here.
So how engaged, or I guess how do you engage alumni to make sure that they are involved? Because oftentimes alumni is the best marketing tool schools have.
Well, it's interesting because, we have only been granting 4-year degrees for 20 years. We were originally we were Beaufort College in Beaufort that was started in 1795, and then it closed after for the Civil War, and then reopened again in 1959 as a 2-year school, part of the University of South Carolina system. And then 20 years ago, we started offering our first bachelor's degree. So it's still something we're pretty new at. But one of the things we've been working on with our alumni area is trying to collect those groups that have a common factor, not just the institution, but whether it's athletes or through a degree program and that kind of thing like that, to make those connections with them and trying to bring them back on campus. We've also just this year started, we're part of NCAA Division II, and we're going through the probationary period, but we just started our first basketball team. And we've had baseball and women's soccer and golf and cross country and track for a number of years. But basketball is more kind of a sport that people know and like to watch and participate in. This fall has been our first, and we've had some great interaction from that. And we're pretty excited in the early spring semester, where we'll be building our homecoming around that for the first time, to be looking to try to re-engage some of those alumni who may not have known, who may not have been that engaged, but are very much excited about that new opportunity on campus.
But how many schools are in the USC system?
There are 8. There's Columbia, then there are 3 regional institutions, and then there are 4 2-year schools across the state. Okay.
And does Beaufort, do you have a territory, that you can target? You can't,
no.
Are there limitations, I guess?
No, we do not. And the 2-year schools primarily are geographic, although a couple of them do have housing. So, and some of them do have athletics. So they do have a wider scope of recruiting, but we don't have, and I've worked at 2-year schools where it's kind of like, this is your field, this is just your place, because there's another one XYZ away. But that's not really the way we do it. I have a chancellor who used to say we're a system, and that's with the lowercase s. We are connected, and a lot of our processes are back of the house systems are together, but each of us functions. Each of the 4-year schools functions as an own independent institution with our own accreditation, and then we just follow within the rules for the system overall.
Mm-hmm. So, how do you market? I mean, how do you find your students?
Well, we're looking for when we first opened, and this was before I got here, we were just kind of looking for people who want to come to the coast. Now we're looking for students who are looking for an intimate college experience. That's really what we've looked to try to target. We still do a lot of the traditional college things of going to college fairs and doing high school visits and those kind of things like that. But we have had to, and just as the markets continue to change, to be much more involved in the using of more sophisticated models through the assistance with some, enrollment management companies or whatever it may be, in developing communications and developing marketing for online, whether it's through Facebook and that's changed dramatically too. But YouTube or whatever it may be, or doing geofencing advertising and those kind of things like that. We are involved in all of those kind of things very heavily, and also in working to try to craft our message. And so we've had to do that in order to continue to get our message out. We've had some success with it. This past year, we had our second highest freshman class ever. And so on my board over there, I see the goals for next year. And so I go, okay, here we go. I tell my team, as the fall semester begins, and if we've had a good year, and this year we said, okay, we got about 3 days to enjoy this, and then we have to start working on the next year. And when we're talking about fall, we're almost always talking about the next year. And so for other people on campus, they kind of have a hard time seeing that because, our deadlines are different than most of the other parts of campus. I asked somebody coming in today, I said, is Friday the last day of class? Because those are the dates kind of come and go for admissions. Now, enrollment management with financial aid and registrar, those are different. And both of those entities report to me. But in the actually admissions realm, our goals and deadlines are based on those future terms.
So you're looking at fall 24 now.
Correct.
So is the value of education being challenged?
Oh, without question. Without question. And I mean, we talk a lot about, for a lot of my team, as I am, are first generation college students. My father dropped out of high school in the first or in the ninth grade. And I remember very clearly my oldest brother, who's 7 years older than me, when he graduated from high school, my father looked at his diploma and said, wow, I've never seen one of these with the name Palmour on it before. Hmm. And that message, I haven't been, 11 in a long time. So that message really stuck with me, and to think about that power of education. And that's really one of the things that's still a valid message. And, I was reading an article this past week, and while the perceptions of the public may be that there may be some questions about the value of the investment in education, I read an article just last week about hiring managers and executives still see the power of that in helping to prepare those students who, again, as I said a few minutes ago, who can communicate, who can think critically, who can problem solve, who can pivot into new activities or new issues as they come forward. And that's still the thing that we're looking to try to sell, because it is, the pendulum of education, like the pendulum of everything, swings one way and then the other all the time. Some of that sometimes is driven by politics, sometimes it's driven by the economy, and all those activities simultaneously. But the message is still important, and we have to continue to look to see how we need to make ourselves relevant for students, because it is still the great equalizer for people, coming to us. And we still have a large percentage of our students who are first generation college students, and for whom this can be a life-changing event for them and for their families to come. So that's a huge deal for us. That's one of the reasons that we've really looked to push as an institution the experiential learning experience for students, and making them see that here's how you can use the things that you have learned in the world of work, so you can take those skill sets and be successful. Yeah,
absolutely. That actually leads me to my next question. How do you make sure that a first year student really can see a path forward, and even beyond that first year? Sure. How do you make sure that students really understand, hey, whether it be career path but maybe more importantly, hey, I'm getting my degree, I'm getting an education because I can go do this?
Well, it's interesting. I can remember talking with my own children, and my daughter saying to me, I want to do something that I have a passion for. And I said, for most of us, that passion comes later. There's those people who know they want to be a doctor, or know they want to be a chef, or know they want to be an auto mechanic. But for most of us, we're having to kind of figure it out. And that's one of the things we really work hard to try to continue to let students know, that this is the opportunity to explore. And this is the opportunity to try to learn about some things that you didn't know, and sometimes in making you uncomfortable, because it is something that is foreign to not your values, because most people come in with the same values or leave with the same values they had when they come in, but just some information that they may not have known existed, or thoughts or attitudes that people may not have been aware of because they had not been exposed to them. So one of the things we've done this year that is pretty exciting, and we're still, because this is our first year, we're looking to see what things look like, is we have developed a student success coach program where volunteer faculty and staff across campus have each have a number of students for whom they are just working to be a resource. And we have seen, the preliminary results right now is for the spring semester, our registrations are up about 15% over where they were this time last year. So we're hoping that connection is giving them a path to say, oh, there are some resources I didn't know exist that can help me move forward. If I'm the first in my school to go, or my family to go to school, I don't know who to ask for stuff. Or if it was easy in high school and I got here and the professor says, here's the syllabus and it has the assignments, it's your job to look at them and turn them into me. That's a huge culture shock for a lot of students. And so trying to remind them that those are there, that it's not just high school plus, and to offer them resources for success. We're hoping that's the combination that's going to help us continue to move those students and forward, and especially with first generation college students, because they can't call their parent and say, so how was this when you were in school? I can remember my mom telling me that she had told someone, I just don't know if Mack will ever finish because he's just not sure what he wants to do. And she, and that part was right. But it was, but having those resources, we're hoping can give them the opportunity to work through that with a little less angst than I may have had a long, long time ago.
Oh, absolutely. And I imagine, hey, whether you're an extrovert, whether you're an introvert, it's always, I think it's always so powerful to know that you don't have to do it alone. It doesn't mean you need to go hang out with somebody all the time if you're not comfortable doing it, but at least you have the resources to say, hey, I don't know what to do here, or I'm uncomfortable here. Like, what do I do?
Well, it's interesting because I have 10 or 11 students that are part of my success coach realm, and I've met exactly one of them the entire semester. We have communicated. I've emailed them. I've texted them. I've say, hey, this deadline's coming up, or here's this resource. I'm here. And one of those students has actually come by to meet me. But I'm hoping that they know and initially several of them said, hey, things are good. I'm really happy to be here. And then a couple of people asked a couple of questions. I'd send a note, say, have you made your appointment to see your advisor? Several people followed up on that. But I'm like, here's where I am. Please come see me. And like I said, only one has. But I am, one, not taking that personally. And two, just hoping that they know that there is a resource here that can help direct them as they move forward. And I'm not the only resource on campus, because they have, faculty, they may be involved in activities where they get to know other people on campus as well.
So now, where do you see the University of South Carolina, Beaufort in 5 years, in 10 years?
We talk about that a lot. And I think they're two different things. One, because we have some great faculty here doing some great research. Research is teaching, but we are not a research institution. We are, as a regional institution, we are here as a resource for teaching students. But the great thing is, one of the things we sell a lot is our students have the opportunity to be involved in some really great research and to have a chance to do that. So I think we're hoping to be a combination of both those things, to continue to serve the low country area. And in order to do that, we have to grow. And to grow, we have to go outside our market. That is just because there's a finite number of people here. So we're hoping to continue to spread, that message through that. And, I mentioned we hope to be between 2,500 and 3,000 students in the next, 3 to 5 years, and again, I think our goal is is to go where we can grow enough to meet the needs of our students, both personally and professionally and financially, but continue to have that connection with our students who are looking for the kind of institution to have that intimate college experience. And I tell my team all the time, we're in the life-changing business, and there's no more exciting thing to be. And selling in the hotels, which I really enjoyed so much. I enjoyed knowing people. I used to say business is boring, people are interesting. And for me, that was really the case. But we're selling something that is multi-generational. Yeah. And so I think as we continue to do that, and we continue to find, we have to continue to find more and better and sophisticated ways to spread that message, we'll be able to continue to do both of those things, to offer those opportunities for connection and research, as well as continue to be a place that people can come and say that they're here. I mean, the saying is, you attend a school for 4 years, you're from that school forever. And so we're hoping we'll continue to see that group grow. And then as we become more actively involved, continue to be more actively involved with our graduates, that gives us a chance to continue to expand that as well.
Well, relationships mean so much, I know for me, if an alum reached out to me and said, "Hey, Brad, I know you went here and I'd love to talk to you," that would get my attention.
Without question. Without question. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes.
Well, Mack Palmour, hey, thank you so much for your time today. I feel like we could continue to talk all day. I really appreciate it.
Well, I appreciate that. I hope I gave you at least, a minute or so or something you can use.
I love it.
But I appreciate the time. I'm glad we were able to get things squared away and scheduled, and I enjoyed the conversation, Brad. Thanks so much.
Absolutely. Thanks so much. Thanks again.
You bet. Take care.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of the College Admission TV Presidential Podcast. Stay tuned for our next episode, where we'll bring you another insightful conversation with a distinguished leader in higher education.